Hey guys, Kev here, and I have a full review to do for you of the Shiro knives that Christopher was knife enough to send in to me. These are going to Kyle, DTOM Knives and Gear next, so I wanted to kind of wrap this up. I'm just going to review them both at the same time because they're both Shiros. They're both in the same line. This is the Hati R. And this is the Hation 0, so very similar, just kind of a scaled down version of this, you know. Do have my Dock Street Bohemian Pilsner here, filming this after a long day of work and picking up the kid at daycare. It's getting nice out. We were in the 60s today, I think, so I went ahead and took the stroller out and walked over to daycare and picked her up. Took the dog with. We had a good time, so I'm just going to crack a beer while I wait for dinner and knock out some reviews that I definitely need to get to. So, Chris, a.k.a. Titanium Addiction 1970 on Instagram, was kind enough to loan these bad boys to us, and I need to get them on to Kyle, so I wanted to wrap this up. So, this one here is the Hati R. This has the Alutech scale on it, which I still don't really know what it is fully. Jake, Bearded Gear, explained it to me a little bit in our live stream on the Edge, but I was half listening, and he didn't want to say it again, rightfully so. But as I understand it, it's kind of like carbon fiber weave, but it's using aluminum or something like that, so it can be anodized any color. I think that's what I got from it, but it's an interesting material. To me, it kind of reminds me of wicker furniture, so I'm not a huge fan of that. And this one, the Hation 0, has this sweet green carbon fiber on the show side scale and an inlay on the lock side scale, so pretty cool. And then they both have these anodized green clips. Very, very cool knives. Shirogorov knives are made in Russia. You'll see their logo there is the bear. This one is an M390. This one is also an M390. Yep. Very, very cool. I've been told by a few people that Shirogorov just nails it with their heat treats. So you can expect very good edge retention on that M390. You're not going to have any of those issues you may have with some of the Chinese companies and how they heat their steel, or even some of the American companies, honestly. So I'm going to start real quick and just go over this Hati R here. This is a right-handed frame lock. It has this long drop point blade on it. Very interesting knife, or interesting blade. It's a thin, kind of long blade, which is cool. Very good for EDC. And then you have this kind of neutral style handle with a little bit of a swoopage here and a little curve here, but it's pretty neutral for your hand. Fits very well in the hand. But yeah, aesthetically, just, you know, a cool looking knife, basically. If you think knife, you could almost just draw a Shirogorov, in my opinion. The Hation 0. Just the shrunken down version of that. I think I might have a little more belly in that blade. You can see here it kind of has a little more of a swoop up, and then that tip kind of straightens out. And I feel like this one is more of a straight little belly and then up into that tip. I don't know if it's just me, but it just looks a little different on that blade shape. More of a swoop in the top here as well. This is more of a straight line to the drop point. Could be my imagination. On the Hati R, you do have some jimping up here on the spine. Very close together jimping, which you really don't, you barely feel it, honestly. It's just almost like a location point as opposed to a traction point. On the Hation 0, You do have the jimping a little more spaced out. You'll see it's a little more artistic, I guess you'd say. It doesn't really grip you much either. Both of those are kind of just there, I think, for aesthetics. Neither of these have a finger choil of any kind. They are both flippers. One big difference between the two, other than the size, obviously, this is a 3.5-inch blade. I would think it's probably 3.5 inches. And then this one is more like a 3-inch. Maybe it's 3.25. Hold on, I got a bug out here. This is my bug out, which we all know is 3.25. So yeah, you're looking at pivot to pivot. Maybe 3.3. We'll call it 3.3 on the Hation 0. And then what do I know has a 3.5-inch? Hang on. Oh, you know what? The Liangma Field Duty EDC, I know, has a 3.5-inch blade. And this is a bit longer than that. So this is definitely not a 3.5-inch. Let's see, what else do I have? I have this Off-Grid Knives Scorpion, which I believe in my recent unboxing of it, I called it a wee Scorpion. There you go. So this is a 4-inch blade. So I apologize. You have 3.3 on the Hation 0 and 4 inches on this one. Man, I'm getting used to big knives, I guess. This is a 4-inch blade? Doesn't even feel that big to me, honestly. It's strange. Interesting. But again, these are both flippers, and the biggest difference, other than size, I've noticed, is the flipper tabs. You'll see this one kind of crooks down, and it has a little bit of jimping on there, but nothing too crazy. This one is very minimal, and it has a bit more, like a rougher jimping on it, which makes sense because you have less of a tab. So this one is more of like a push button in kind of deal, as opposed to a light switch down. Like, it works on the light switch, but you have a better time just kind of going like that, right? Whereas on this guy, you have a little more room to grab, and you kind of just light switch it down. That's really the main difference I've noticed. Both of them are drop shutty as all get out. The best way for me to explain Shirogorov action is it has all the aspects of action that I like, or closing action that I like. It drops shut. I love knives that just guillotine shut, right? It's controlled on the close. I love knives that have a nice controlled close, and I can show you the difference. So this right here is that off-grid Scorpion I was showing you. And when you close this, it kind of just slowly closes, right? It's a very controlled close. But then if you take something like this is a CKF Evo Evolution 1.0. This is going to hurt. Ow! It just drops and then guillotines close all the way. There's no control in there, right? It's just a guillotine. As opposed to a slow close. But they're both drop shut because you're not doing any shaking, right? In this case, it's almost like it does both. It just guillotines, but it's also buttery, smooth, and controlled. It's very interesting. To me, it's basically the epitome of action. I think. It has these very cool multi-row bearings that Shirogorov uses. And it's just really, really cool. They both do it. And, you know, it's just fun, right? But for me, personally, it's not something I want to buy. As much as I really wanted to check out Shiro's, and I was really excited to get them in, and I super appreciate Chris for sending them, I now know that I don't want one, which is awesome, because now I don't have to spend $700 or whatever. And I'm not saying he wasted his money. These are good knives, and he loves them. But I don't need one, because all it has is the flipper. And for me, this gets old after a while. I don't know what it is, but I really like something that has a little more pizzazz to it now, or has a hole and a like, so I can open it with my thumb or my middle finger. Also has a flipper, or just different front flipper, different ways to open a knife, right? Unless we're talking about like a Malibu where you have a button lock. Because then I'm kind of fidgeting with the flipper tab and the button. And I guess that kind of like replaces another deployment method. It's really weird. But I'm noticing more and more in my collection that the flipper only thing is kind of getting weeded out. I still have a few. I still love a lot. Like all my Finch knives are basically all flipper only. But those are just fun in their own way, being quirky and stuff. This to me is just it just looks like a knife, right? Whereas this 1929 looks like a traditional. It has this really cool clip point. Just an interesting design. I don't know. It just is different than just having a knife. And again, this is just me, right? And I'm just having this conversation about Shiro because I was so interested in them. And I wanted one really bad. So it's just kind of fun to figure those kinds of things out. So back to the reviews, right? This one here, the Hati R, has a little bit of detent lash. I can kind of feel a little wiggle when I kind of press on the flipper tab a little bit before it shoots out. It's not much or anything, but I want to note it because it is an expensive knife. Both of these are absolutely dead center. I like how this one has a little pocket for the tip to sit in. This one does not have that, but still centered. Again, they're on these multi-row bearings that Shiro has. I've heard that taking them apart is a bit of a pain because all the bearings will fall out or whatever. So there's that. But kind of to wrap this up, I'll go through all the normal review type stuff. And I guess I'll start with the Hati R. That's what I had out, right? So aesthetically, just a knife. Interesting, drop point, whatever. Nothing special to me. Ergos, comfortable, neutral. Basically, any hand will fit in this and not have a problem. You could wield it. You can use it. I'm left-handed, and I have no issues playing with this knife. So no big deal. Left-handed, you can flick it out, just disengage, let it drop. Flick it out, disengage, let it drop. Somebody recently told me that I should start doing a like leftometer or something. Like how is it for a lefty to operate? And like scale it on a scale of 0 to 10. I kind of have to figure out how that would work, because what is 10? A lefty knife? Or are we talking about righty knives working for lefties, you know? So this knife, because it's a frame lock and it's not a middle finger flick or anything, you don't really have to worry about the lock bar on it. I've never locked this up on accident. You know, so if we're talking leftometer here, you don't have the fun factor of having it drop like this like you do right-handed. So left-handed, you have to do that, but it's still really fun. I would definitely put this at like a solid 7, right? And I said ergonomics are good. Action, obviously fantastic on this knife. Carry is pretty good. I have not really carried these. Again, very expensive, not my knives. And I just didn't want to mess them up or anything. They go in pocket, they come out of pocket, they carry well. They don't carry extremely deep, but they don't leave much hanging out of your pocket. So carry is good. Value, that's up to you, honestly. Are these knives $700, $800 worth of knife? Yes. What goes into them, the materials, the fit and finish I'm seeing here, the absolutely ridiculous action, the blade, the heat treat that I understand, the cutting ability, which is very good on these, a good edge on it, pretty thin behind the edge. It cuts through paper very well. That's all I cut with it, so I can't speak to more than that, but I don't think most people are beating on their Shiros. So I think value is just the eye of the beholder type thing. If you want a Shiro and love Shiros, yes, this is worth that money. But it's for me, it's not, because I don't want one. It's stupid, but that's the best way for me to phrase it. So recommendations, I would say if you're left-handed and you absolutely want a Shiro, I don't think there's anything wrong with getting a right-handed Shirogorov. I think it's fun to play with left-handed. And you can always switch to your right whenever. And it carries decent enough with a small enough flipper tab and a good enough detent. It's not going to have any issues in your left pocket, right? So, you know, if you really want one. Right-handed, if you have the money, and again, you're into Shiros, yes, the Hati R is really good. The Neon, Hation Zero here, this one is my favorite out of the two. It's my favorite out of the three that Chris sent me. Again, nice drop point blade, but it has a little bit more design to the blade, and I really like that. I love the finish on this one. It's a very strong, I guess, a stone wash. Is that what that is? Yeah, they're the same. Sorry, this one also has it. I'm going to call that a stone wash. Could be a bead blast. Very light one, I guess. I'm not an expert. You guys tell me. I appreciate it when you school me a little bit. It's definitely not a satin grind, but it looks like a very well done stone wash to me. Anyway, very cool blade. Ergonomics on this guy. Just a shrunken down version of that other one, but even more comfortable in my hand. It just fits very well. I have all four fingers, jimping. It's just very wieldy. It feels really good. I could cut with this all day. It's a smaller package. Just feels good in my hand. I really like it. The action on this one is even better in my opinion. It's just fun to play with. You know, I love to see a knife this small that just drops shut like that and glides home. It's just satisfying, you know. Carry, same as the other one, except even better because it's smaller. You have a little more sticking out on this one, but it's a smaller overall package. I think the flipper tab's a little bit smaller. It is. So it carries a little better. Detent is very good. So again, no issues if you're lefty there. Yeah, cutting, again, just as good as the other one. No issues. Value, once again, up to you. I personally like the Hation Zero better, but I completely understand if you want more for your money, you get a bigger package here, right? So yeah, so overall, I like the Shiros. They're fun, but they tended to just sit in my knife case and not get carried, not get played with much. I took them out maybe once every other day and kind of fidgeted like this for a little bit, and that was it. They went back in, and that happens with a lot of knives. You know, it needs to be something special for me to really kind of fall in love with it. I'm noticing right now I'm kind of spinning the pivot around. See how which way the Phillips is facing now? And now? That's weird. But there's no play, so I don't know what's going on there. I'm going to stop playing with it, though. So, anyway, yeah, just interesting, but not my bag. And I'm glad I learned that, honestly. So, really appreciate it, Chris. I appreciate you guys for watching. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will catch you later.